Ruselli Northern supports upstate New York construction with over 400 employees, 250 trucks, 9 ready-mix plants, 4 blacktop plants, and 40 aggregate mines. But their most important number is your bottom line. Contact them today to see why Ruselli Northern has been the choice for contractors and project managers across upstate New York since 1929.
Takes with Russo and Felice. Paul Russo here, Nick Felice as well. Football-centric episode. We have, not breaking at this point, but NFL news on a Wednesday like this. We get to talk about that because it was a hectic morning for the folks who handle all that. So we'll talk about that. Third week of Bowl Mania, and we're gonna do a mini quasi review of sort of the Iron Claw. So we haven't had a spoiler alert in a while, Nick, but we get to have one today by the end of the show.
Nice.
Yeah,
another show in the books. A little delayed today, but it's only if you're watching live.
It's true.
But I think I forgot about the show for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah.
It's happened a couple of times, but
Back during the extreme night shifts, as I call it, there was a couple of times maybe in there, but yeah, it's been a while for you. In fact, this is the slot that we went with because of you, even. So how about that?
And the reason we did the 10 o'clock slot was because of you back in the day, and I'll blame the week. Christmas on a Monday,
right.
Thinking it's Tuesday.
Sure.
Thought about the podcast this morning, just did other things and just slipped my mind, but here we are right now, talking football, week 16-17.
Yeah, so let's kind of get into it. It's weird. Like, I feel like we got to start because I think the main stuff from the weekend really has more to do with like the playoff picture than anything else. Again, it's kind of tough. I didn't think. I don't know. It's funny you bring up like the holiday portion. Like, I don't know if it's just because of Christmas on the Monday, which means Christmas Eve on Sunday and everything, but like it kind of having more or less 4 straight days of like football like that was kind of tiresome almost.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Like, it definitely felt oversaturated.
And I remember when the schedule came out, I was looking at that week and I was like, week 16 is crazy.
Yeah.
And it felt like a ton of games.
And it ended up being and feeling like a ton of games. Like, now, obviously, it's a little bit different. Usually, most Sundays, we watch together in some way, shape, or form. But with it being Christmas Eve that we just didn't this year, and obviously, not going to infringe upon family events on either one of our end with that. So I know you were still able to watch Red Zone to some degree. I wasn't. I was kind of stuck with the whatever was on TV portion of it. And even then, like, Cleveland-Houston was the game, for example, locally on CBS here, and that was just a blowout. Like, that just was not a fun game to watch. And then they move over to Seattle-Denver, but, like, halfway through the fourth of that Cleveland-Houston game like they usually do. And that game, albeit close, like, was just not great.
Yeah.
And then after that gets over, they move over to Commanders-Jets. And although
your team.
A perfect example of it, even though that game was close, was not great.
They did get the loss, though.
Right, thank God.
They played
no, we want them to tank. They couldn't even tank right.
But they played well and they lost. What are you complaining?
Anyway, my point being is, again, just another week of not great football. And it just kind of tied in, like I said, with, like, obviously there was no game on Friday this week, so it's not 4 straight days, but it just felt like 4 straight days. That Thursday night game between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh was all right, but nothing special. And then you move to the Saturday slots. Apologize. Cincinnati-Pittsburgh was Saturday afternoon. The Thursday game was that New Orleans-Rams game that was just,
felt like a while ago.
Yeah, nutty. Bills-Chargers was close, even though it shouldn't have been, and I don't know. And then the Monday thing on Christmas Day. I don't know how you feel about it, but I really hope they don't do something screwy with it since Christmas Eve, I think, is on a Monday next year.
Yeah.
So I just hope
I would assume it's just going
nothing
to be
wonky.
the one game
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve next year. That's how
Yeah.
I would assume that's how they'll do it. And but it was a lot of football. I mean, you're talking about 12 teams got their own slot.
Yeah.
I don't think they call them prime time games, but there was 6 games that were only going on
Right.
at the only game going on 6 times this last week. So schedule is hectic, but people. I mean, it's a lot of parties on Saturday, Sunday for the holidays. So, I mean, it's nice to have football on while those parties are going on. I think that's what the NFL tries to shoot for when they do these type of things. And obviously, once college football regular season ends and the conference championship, whatever, but they start playing the Saturday games, and now they're just Saturday throughout the rest of the season besides last week. But, they're trying to have they would love to have football on every single day of the week. They just physically can't.
They did during 2020.
They did.
But, let's kind of get into that playoff picture stuff now. The AFC really is the one that is getting the most attention and should, and we had a bit of a shake-up there. The Bills launched themselves from 8 to 6.
That's in.
Because of the Colts losing and the Bengals losing. And now the 7 spots where you have 4 teams locked in at 8 and 7. And a lot to be decided. Still only 2 AFC teams, for that matter, have locked themselves into the playoff picture, that being the Ravens and the Dolphins. So it'll be pretty interesting the final couple weeks here. Obviously now, if you're the Browns, again, I go back to this, kind of have had them just locked in past few weeks because it's just like they have the best record of the wild card teams, and if you go by record, they're the 3rd best record in the AFC anyway. So it's like kind of hard to imagine them falling out. Now they still have the game in hand, obviously on Buffalo, which is big, but we'll see how well they actually shake out here. And like I said, they'll be fine. It just kind of sucks that they're put into that slot. Like I'm just happy to see that the NBA's kind of gotten away from the division leaders outright being the top seeds. I mean, they lock in, but, either way. I like the position Buffalo's in. They go into this week against New England, and, I wouldn't say it's a trap game, but, rivalry game, you don't know what's going to happen.
Lost them earlier this year.
Right, so.
Different Buffalo team.
Yeah, and it's also a different Patriot team, too, even for that matter.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting. The AFC's kind of showing. I know the AFC playoff picture, I mean, it's kind of top-ish heavy where it's kind of convoluted up a little bit.
The only team outside the
Yeah.
playoffs right now that I think is the threat in the NFC is the Vikings. And with Nick Mullins as the quarterback, I just don't see it. So I think you're looking at the 7 teams that are in right now is the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody really kind of breaks through there, right? I mean,
Green Bay, that was weird. That came out there.
yeah, well,
I guess it's suspended.
yeah, I mean, I was going to kind of get to that here when we get to the quarterback stuff, even though he's a cornerback. But, yeah, I mean, but the NFC, though, right? I mean, you have the Lions who locked in. They have their first division title since '93,
Nice.
which is great.
I think you picked them last year, but
Cowboys, Eagles are pretty much locked in.
not playing well, though.
No, San Fran not playing. I mean,
They were, and then a stinker.
yeah, but they're locked in. Tampa Bay locked in. Well, locked in.
I think they're the best team in that division.
Well,
Not saying
right.
much, but
yeah, but who knows? I mean, then who else you got in there? Right,
Seattle and the Rams.
Seattle and the Rams. So, yeah, I don't even know if I even consider Minnesota just the way they've played.
They're a game back of
You know.
Seattle and the Rams right now. And technically, aren't the Falcons 7-8 still?
Right.
The Saints are 7-8. They're all 7-8. I'm just not seeing any of them.
They aren't good.
No. Green Bay.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned.
Yeah.
They're there. They're not going to be there very long.
Hmm.
None of those teams are even going to even threaten in the playoffs. I don't even know if the Rams and the Seahawks are going to threaten in the playoffs, but they're better than those teams.
Yeah.
I would consider Minnesota, but Minnesota has a huge quarterback situation right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they're just too big of a question mark.
Yeah.
But that guy's done a great job with that, McConnell. Great job with them this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they were like one spot above, he might have a case for Coach of the Year. But I think Stefanski has that in Cleveland pretty well. In theory, he should have it locked up. I mean,
people thought the Lions were going to be good this year, so no, I don't think anyone expected a 10-5 Browns team.
No, not
even with Deshaun Watson as the quarterback. I don't think people expected him to be this good.
Oh no, probably not. I mean, think about the injuries they've had too. It's just, jeez. I mean,
Nick Chubb's been gone the whole year.
Yeah, so it's good for them. Yeah, let's get into the stuff that's happened today. You kind of brought up. Let's do it. The Jair Alexander situation here. Guess I don't. It's very confusing.
I think it's an overreaction
by the Packers.
Yeah,
100%. So, background: going to overtime against Carolina, he goes out as one of the captains.
It was opening.
I was told it was the overtime one.
Oh,
I don't know.
I thought I saw it was opening.
Either way, it was for one of the kickoffs,
Yeah.
right? And I guess he was the one who called the thing, even though he wasn't supposed to. And I guess there were some comments also made post game that him and LaFleur were kind of going at it. But here's the thing: Jair Alexander's from Charlotte. The game was in Charlotte, so I don't know what the deal is. I'm guessing there was some loss of communication type stuff. I think it's one blow out of the proportion, probably both ways. Now, we don't have, I don't know. I haven't been able to look, obviously, because this happened pretty close to the start of recording here, but be really intrigued to kind of see what the responses from both sides. I know the suspension is team and not NFL, so it's the
One
team
game.
doing it, which is stupid to me. 2 weeks left in the year, but do you? You're the Packers. You think you're better than everybody, and well, go handle yourself on that one. But yeah, I think this is a case of probably some guys want to show that they have quote unquote authority when
They don't.
yeah, I just don't know if you'll be in this same spot this time next year, you know.
Yeah. I think they should have just talked to him instead of just flat out suspended him. But they probably have. He's not a big time player, so they probably have had problems with
He's
him.
big enough though,
But they probably had problems with him all year long.
I guess.
He's probably a head case a little bit, just to. I don't know. I don't follow the player, so I can't make any judgments. But it sounds like the Packers. I mean, they just go out and suspend him one game, not just like talk it over. So it sounds like they've talked to him about other stuff. So
Right.
yeah, it's just yeah, it's just a guy who thinks he's. I mean, he thinks he's better than the Packers. I mean, who told you to go out there? You know, it's just. I don't know why he would think he was allowed to go out there and do the coin flip, without like discussing with at least the head coach first. So, I mean, the head coach is in charge of the players. So, I would not have suspended him. I would have just sat him down, talked to him. You can't do that, and go forward. But. Little bit of overreaction on the Packers.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. There's no quotes or anything as of right.
Didn't it just
now
happen
that
today?
I'm kind of seeing. I mean, it happened within the past hour, 2 hours here. Yeah, I mean, I got no quotes right now from either side at the moment. Unless I'm just kind of missing something, which I guess is kind of possible. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it also came down to just what I was looking at quick, the fact that he chose defense instead of offense when they won the flip. So I don't know. Again, seems a bit overblown on all fronts.
Yeah.
In my opinion. All right, let's get to some quarterback stuff here. Let's begin, I think, with the big name element of this one being Russell Wilson, bench for Jared Stidham in Denver. Obviously, they lost Sunday Night Football on NFL Network to the Patriots on near game expiring field goal. Yeah, this one's interesting. I mean, we had the discussion on here about 2 months ago now about Russ and kind of comparing him to other quarterbacks throughout his time in the NFL, and I don't think his time in the NFL has necessarily come to an end, but I definitely think the time in Denver's come to an end. It seems like this is more seems like this is more financial based than actual gameplay based. Although, if this was like a month and a half ago, 2 months, I would be like, yeah, probably was performance based. But the way he's played recently, I don't necessarily see it. So I'm guessing his time in Denver's come to an end. It's interesting though. Him and Sean Payton the past few weeks have definitely been barking at each other. So again, definitely think this is financial based. But part of me in the back of my mind feels like Sean Payton playing a bit of that petty card that we know he has. Like, it's very, very, very interesting situation at Mile High right now.
Yeah, I think it's a little distracted by the Patriots because of their record.
Mhm.
That defense isn't that bad.
Right.
Patriots defense is not terrible. So it's not surprising they struggled the other night. But you see this a lot, though, with quarterbacks. It's kind of weird that the Broncos aren't – they're not making the playoffs, but they're not officially eliminated, so it kind of came as a little surprise to me.
I mean, they're probably that 8-7 pack.
Yeah. They're 7-8 now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
They're 7-8.
Yeah, they're with the Raiders.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. They try to give a guy a shot at the end of the year, a team that's not really going anywhere, just to see what they got in them. Because we know we have in Russell Wilson, and I wouldn't say this is the end of his Denver career, but it's obviously the end of the season.
Oh, I think it definitely is the end of his Denver career.
Really?
Yeah.
I
don't think
he'll be back.
Here's the thing. I don't think you make this move, and if it was an actual like young quarterback we haven't seen, I'd believe that what you're saying. But Jared Stidham,
Yeah, we know him.
Patriots have tried him and nothing, and he's a very capable backup quarterback. Like, don't get me wrong, but like he's not a future guy. Like this is just solely financial.
Maybe they're trying to.
I think they're moving on from him.
Maybe they're trying to humble up Russell Wilson. He's been humbled up a lot the last 2 years, but I don't know. I just heard a lot about Russell Wilson and him being a little egotistic. I don't know. He seems like a hard guy to coach. He seems like a hard guy to play with. I'm not gonna say it's the end of him in Denver, but this is a big bump.
I think I just have to disagree with you. Like I don't think they make this move if he's around if he's their starting quarterback for 24. It makes no sense to bench him when you're in the middle, technically still of the playoff hunt and everything. And
It's true.
It's financial. They're moving on from him, not working out.
Where's he going?
I do think there's an element of petty involved with Sean Payton and him at the moment, so I think that's happening. You
Going
got
back to Seattle.
two big egos there going at it. Where does he go from here? I guess it depends kind of how the situation plays out. If he gets waived/cut, I mean, he can go anywhere. But
Maybe go with Magic Johnson.
no, I think Washington will go young, and so obviously we'll get to them in a second as well.
What would you do?
While we're on the Russell Wilson thing still here. Do the Patriots make sense? I don't know.
I think Russell Wilson needs to hang it up.
You think, like, done, he's cooked completely.
Yeah, stop cooking, Russ. He's just, I don't know if he's ever going to be a guy that can carry a team to playoffs anymore. So.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that time has definitely come and gone at this point for him. Yeah.
So who's going to give him a chance? I say it's time for him to hang it up.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, I think his best days are definitely behind him at this point. I
think Denver's going to give him another chance. That's my agree.
I don't see it. I don't see it. We'll agree to disagree
But
on
if
that.
Denver doesn't give him a chance, I don't know who will.
I mean, somebody will.
So you think the Patriots would be a good fit?
I don't know if it's necessarily a good fit, but like, you ask who would pick him up. Like, I mean, New England's definitely probably will be in the quarterback market, barring a really weird miracle on their end. I mean,
maybe
we'll get to Washington. We'll get to the Giants, obviously, because they're also in the news with that.
There was always news of Russell Wilson maybe going to the Giants.
Yeah, but if you're the Giants, if you're again do a quarterback swap, which I don't think is necessary. I think you ride with Daniel Jones. Like,
maybe we'll back up Rodgers.
no shot. Neither one of those egos will survive. I mean, I don't know. the team that's going to be interesting here, and I'm just going to kind of leave it at this. It's going to be interesting. We talked about him a ton, and I don't think he ends up here. But like the name of the quarterback market to keep an eye on this offseason is going to be Cleveland, because it's pretty apparent that
They're not going to ride Joe Flacco.
Right, but it's also apparent that if there's anything really within this, whether it was Flacco, to even like the week of P.J. Walker, and to a lesser degree the second week of the two with DTR, is that Deshaun was a very big overpay, and you need him, right? But you don't need him. So,
Let's dream a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you think of an AFC Championship game? Browns, Joe Flacco taking on the Ravens.
Oh, it's very possible. I don't think people realize how possible.
How will Raven fans feel about? They gotta like Joe Flacco, right?
The tough part with that is though, as after that opening week, right, the wild card weekend and the reshuffle, it's very possible they beat the divisional round and not the semi, or not the championship. So, I mean, I'd be with it.
It's true.
That's for sure. But either way, let's get to the NFC East, where the other two quarterback changes have come about today. We'll start with the Washington one because I think there's slightly more meat there than the Giants one. No disrespect to you guys, I just think that was just more obviously a Tyrod's healthy, so they're going to kind of play him type deal.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington's one that's interesting. Sam Howell benched for the final 2 weeks. Jacoby Brissett will get the starts. Been a rough few weeks for Sam Howell, but I don't know. There's a lot of fishy stuff, in my opinion, happening with this quarterback swap. Feels like a, albeit long shot effort of Ron Rivera trying to save his job, if you will. Also feels like Ron is trying to maybe do some personal accolade salvaging as well. If he loses, I think, one more game, he can only finish at 500 in his coaching career as of right now.
Overall.
I look, and here's the thing, and I need to pull up my phone because I didn't write the stat down, but I do have it on my phone ready to go for you. So, Nick, you do know the Cleveland Brown quarterback thing, the jersey, right? That since 2000, they had at one point 20 starting quarterbacks, and now that's up to like 24. But
Really?
since they were able to reestablish, they were able to kind of buoy themselves with Baker there for the little bit and everything, and make it work. So, since 2000, the Washington football franchise has had 28 starting quarterbacks now
2000.
with the Jacoby Brissett, most in the NFL. They are, in order, and I'm not going to go exact years here, but since 2000, Brad Johnson, Jeff George, oh, come on, there you go, Tony Banks, Danny Warfel, Shane Matthews, Tim Hasselbeck, Pat Ramsey, Mark Brunell, Todd Collins, Jason Campbell, Donovan McNabb, Rex Grossman, John Beck, Robert Griffin III, Kirk Cousins, Mark Sanchez, Josh Johnson, Alex Smith, Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Garrett Gilbert, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, and now Jacoby Brissett.
Who's your favorite?
I mean, probably RG3 still, to be completely honest, but
You like that?
for a team that is in transition, and I get it, but I stand by this because now it sounds like they're going to be drafting a quarterback in the draft, and we've been over this a ton. I'm not a fan of any of the quarterbacks coming out of college this year. The team just needs stability under center. Like, this is not solving it, and it's very apparent that this is the last breath of the Dan Snyder era in Washington occurring because it's still his guy running the show in Ron Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It just sucks that we're dealing with this still as Washington fans and the franchise, but here we are. And look, I get it. Tim Howell has not looked good the past couple weeks and everything. I get it. But, like, he ain't going to learn by on the bench in this situation, in my mind anyway. He's not going to. So, look, I'm the Jacoby Brissett guy. I think, we can go back to the tapes since we started doing the podcast that I think there was a couple stops on the way. He got unjustly shoved out the door, like Indianapolis, for example. And now he's going to have another shot at, hopefully, if it's not a starting job somewhere, you're more or less in contention to be the starter going into a spot next year. So it just stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, that's like 4 or 5 times I've seen this year they've said a guy, he's going to be the starter the rest of the year. They told that to Sam Howell.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen. I think they said it to Josh Dobbs, too.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that even mean anymore?
Nothing.
You're going to be the starter the rest of the year.
It means nothing.
No, it's just a boost of confidence for that time.
Mm.
But no, I wouldn't believe anyone that says that anymore. So I think that we know what Brissett is. Oh, let him finish the year out. I don't get it.
Yeah. And then the last one before we get to our picks, Giants making a move, which I said before we got to the Howell thing. It's the lesser of the three to me, only because of Tommy DeVito came in, did a really good job for what the situation was, but once Tyrod came back fully healthy and kind of showed himself, I think this weekend, I think you had to make the move. Again, a little bit different circumstance, and I get it, right? Paul, you just said about how a young guy has to learn. I did. I get it, but DeVito's not the future in New York. We know that. So I expected it, right? I mean, Tyrod's going to give him the best chance to quote-unquote win, even though it shouldn't be, I'd say, the goal at this point for the Giants. Like Washington, they're eliminated from playoff contention. And obviously we can't outright say tank, and you can't tank, but, I think what this is doing is kind of, I think, showing more or less probably the skill guys who's going to be around next year and who's not. You're going to put the guy in who probably is going to show out and give them the opportunities a little bit better at this point. Frankly, the one name for me at the skill guy position is going to be put up or shut up time is going to be like Sterling Shepard for the next couple weeks, and even then, probably too late to save his job in New York as a Giant at this point, but who knows? So I think that's what the move more or less for the Giants was more. I think it's like, okay, we'll put the guy in that we know can get the ball to the guys, and it's more or less in their hands at that point to show out.
Yep. No, I'm all right with the move. I mean, just a couple more games. We'd love to beat the Eagles the last week of the season because it's been a while since we beat the Eagles or the Cowboys. And they're going to be right around that 5 through 10 pick area, depending how much they do win the rest of the way here. If you could give me the 5th pick right now, I'd take it, but just want to see him play well the last couple weeks. Right. Disappointing year, obviously, after winning a playoff game last year. Not just making the playoffs, winning a playoff game. So it's disappointing setback for sure, but yeah, you got to move on.
Speaking of moving on, let's get to our picks. It was a rough week for you, Nick, unfortunately. Really? 7-9.
Really?
Put up a mean week on that one. I went 10-6. So I am now with the lead at 145-96. You're trailing by 3 games, 142-99.
99. Oh no! You got to go perfect to avoid that 100th.
Yeah. So first game Thursday night this week, the Browns hosting the Jets. The Browns are 7.5-point favorites. I'm going the Browns here.
I'm going Browns.
Yeah. I don't.
Joe Flacco revenge game.
Yeah. Technically speaking, you're right. Yeah. Trevor Siemian revenge game too. Was he a Brown? I don't think he was. These backups kind of all run together.
Yeah. Browns have had a lot of quarterbacks, so you never know.
Yeah. Okay. Saturday night this week. No Monday Night Football this week. That got moved to Saturday night. And it is Detroit at Dallas. Dallas 6-point favorites.
My favorite, the Thanksgiving game.
True.
Got to get Troy Aikman and Joe Buck on a Cowboys game one more time. So I'll go Dallas in this game. Got to win, man. I got to win.
You're taking Dallas.
I got to win.
Wow.
I know that's a surprise to some viewers. I got to try to come back and win this.
I'm not doing it. I'm taking Detroit here.
I know I'm a big Lions guy, but
I personally think the Cowboys' kind of tough stretch here, quote unquote, is going to continue.
I think they get this one.
they haven't looked good the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
You know.
They still got MVP favorite front runner Dak
Well,
Prescott.
speaking of that, they get things going on Sunday at 1 p.m. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore 3.5-point favorite at home.
Give me Ravens. Too good.
I think this is a really toss-up game, to be completely honest here. But I think I got to go with Baltimore, unfortunately. I want to see Miami get this game.
It's a great game. Why is it on 1?
I don't know. Apparently the flex didn't get done in time, allegedly, to move them to Sunday night. We'll get to that game, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. If that Baltimore defense shows up against San Fran, it's obviously a slam dunk, but you don't know. You don't know.
I miss the London games.
Yeah, what? New England at Buffalo. Buffalo 12-point favorites. I'm
Jeez.
taking Buffalo here. I'll say this. I do think New England covers the spread, but I think Buffalo just handles it and moves on.
I'll take the Bills.
Yeah. Atlanta at Chicago. Chicago 3-point favorites. I got to take Chicago.
Same. I'm not taking Atlanta.
I thought you were about to do your Y on me on that one. but
Yeah, I mean,
I just can't. I physically
I
cannot
can't
do
do
that.
Y on Atlanta with you.
Yeah. Tennessee at Houston. Houston 4.5-point favorites. C.J. Stroud trending the right direction as we stand right now. Ryan Tannehill back under center for the Titans this week.
Great.
I'll take Houston here, but I'm not a fan of it.
I'll take Houston too. I'm Tennessee on the road.
Yeah.
Take Houston.
This is a tough one for me as well. Vegas at Indy. The Colts are 3.5-point favorites.
What are you going with?
The Colts have scored me now multiple weeks in a row, various way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna go Vegas, honestly.
Going Vegas too.
You were hoping you were catch me in the Y. Still in the 1 o'clock window. Carolina at Jacksonville. Jacksonville a touchdown favorite.
Not playing great, but
look, C.J. Beathard could be under center. I'm still going to take the Jags until Carolina really proves me otherwise fully at this point.
I'll take Jags too.
Even though they did, I guess, technically last week. But, Carolina.
Carolina, what you call it, actually played well last week.
Yeah, but it's the Packers.
Hey,
The Rams at the Giants. The Giants are 5.5-point home dogs to the Rams.
they should be. Go Rams. Give me the Rams. It's a good spread right there.
I can't tell you how badly I want to take the Giants here. But I think realistically I can't. I'm going to go Rams, but Giants cover. That's my, I think, potential hot take.
It's not a Tyrod revenge game because
True.
that wasn't the LA team that punctured his lung.
Same facility now, but you are right. The Cardinals at the Eagles. The Eagles 11-point favorites at home.
Eagles.
Yeah, there's a lot of big spreads this week.
Yeah.
In addition to some tight ones, though. But there's a lot of big spreads this week.
Speaking of spreads, just real quick.
Sure.
You taking Celtics minus 17.5 tomorrow against the Pistons?
Let's circle back to that. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay -3 at home.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah.
I think they secure the South this weekend. So, and then our last of the 1 o'clock window, the early window, San Fran at Washington. Washington 13.5-point home dogs.
San Fran.
Yeah. Come on now. San Fran.
Gonna be a good one.
You sure about that? Chase Young revenge game.
That's right. That's right.
If only Pierre Garçon was still around. Only one game in the 4:05 slot of the late window. Pittsburgh at Seattle. Seattle is a 3.5-point favorite.
Pirates, Mariners, huh?
Yeah, how about that?
Give me the Mariners. Seahawks.
Yeah, I'll ride the Seattle train as well. Mason Rudolph under center. Thank you. All right, 4:25. Chargers at the Broncos. At the time, and I looked, and the line still hadn't moved, so Denver's a 3.5-point favorite still on the Chargers.
Chargers played well, but I like the Broncos. You'd be surprised how much they want to play without Wilson.
Yeah, the wild part here is I think if it was even a backup, and I don't mean to dunk on the kid, if it was somebody other than Easton Stick, I'd be all about taking the Chargers here, but I just can't.
Yeah. No.
Cincinnati at Kansas City, the last of the late window. Kansas City is a 7-point favorite at home against the Bengals.
Jake Browning did come down to earth a little bit last week, but I'll take the Chiefs.
So Patrick Mahomes has never beaten Bengals. Well, in the Joe Burrow era. I hate to do this. We've agreed across the board, but I think he finally gets to beat the Bengals in the Joe Burrow era, but it's only because Joe Burrow's not playing.
Yeah.
I gotta go Kansas City, unfortunately, here.
That would have been a great game.
Yeah. And then Sunday Night Football, Green Bay at Minnesota. Minnesota, a 1.5 favorite.
What's the Monday night game?
There is none.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then you pick.
Minnesota.
Why, Paul? It's been a while since we made the why make the Sunday night or Monday night games, but
Why? Because I don't like either of these teams in this game, but what's Green Bay again? Green Bay's kind of gotten hot-ish at the right time, but they haven't looked good. They again, even though it contradicts kind of what I said, they really did their best to lose that game to Carolina.
Green Bay will win this game because Jordan Love is better than Nick Mullins.
All right,
Give me the pack. Go, pack, go.
How about that then? So, all right, there are NFL picks.
They couldn't move that game.
They got to the flex option too late, I guess. Something weird. I don't know.
It's about tickets, travel plans.
So let's get to college. Bowl mania, bowl season's kind of winding down, but I have to make a ton of picks here coming up, which we'll get to obviously in a second. But we have a kind of movement on the Florida State front, which is the Florida State and the ACC are suing each other, which
ACC suing them.
Yeah, which that was going to happen. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to fully play out. I do know it's not going to be anything quick, though. It's probably going to be I don't know about years long, 5+, but we're talking probably 2 or 3 year process here, at least. So yeah, there's our update there. Other than that, no conference realignment stuff outside of, I guess, Washington State and Oregon State.
Yeah,
joined the West Coast Conference, and
they have a football conference?
No, they don't. So
what's going on in football?
So yeah, we didn't talk about this, and we probably should have a couple weeks ago when the news actually happened. But they're in an agreement with the Mountain West. They're not joining the Mountain West, but they have an agreement to have. They will play, I believe it's 7 or so Mountain West teams every year, each Oregon State and Washington State, and those will count towards their conference type thing for football. So they aren't keeping the name Pac-2, obviously, but they're going to be recognized as their own conference type.
Really?
Thing. Yeah, for next year. So, yeah, I think it works out well for them for obviously a year thing.
But they're joining the West Coast.
I don't know how long it's going to survive in that sense. I've heard very and read interesting things about what the future might be of Washington State and Oregon State. And I think a lot of it is going to be what happens with the Florida State and ACC deal. Because apparently Cal and Stanford are already looking to try and get out of the ACC.
Really? Which
is not surprising, but if Florida State is able to get around the grant of rights, any team in the ACC is going to be able to get around the grant of rights. And for what the conference is currently, the ACC is a very much so dead man walking in my mind, which sucks. Again, obviously a very historic conference, but the conference kind of did it to themselves by kind of, frankly, bending at the knee to your Florida States, your UNCs, your Dukes, your Clemsons, Miami when they did.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I don't know. kind of sucks for our teams, but we'll cross that bridge in 2025 when we get to it. In that sense. So a couple things I do want to talk about with you before I get to my picks. Obviously, the Bulls the past week have been interesting. Not a ton of close games, a lot of blowouts.
We watched one bowl together.
We did. Yes. What bowl was that?
Syracuse.
That one. That
happened the last week.
Yeah, that was a blowout. I'm just happy to hear that that the players had a fun time in Boca Raton.
Hey, this is rock bottom. You can only go up from here.
Correct. Yes. It ended up being a great recruiting for Syracuse in the early signing window. That happened last week, obviously, before we got out. But, yeah, do want to talk about really I think the main storyline kind of going forward involves Florida State within the bowl game week here, the rest of the week. They have over 20 players opted out right now.
Wow.
Now, to be fair, Georgia has a lot opted out as well, but and I will save my pick, obviously, with this because I pick all the games. They're in the Orange Bowl, but Georgia's an 18.5-point favorite, which
That's a lot.
is, I believe, let me double check here on the lines. Yeah, so it's the highest of this week, and I believe it's the highest of both season. I know South Alabama and Eastern Michigan closed at 17.5. I had South Alabama. I told you that game anyway was going to be like that. And it was one of only 4 wins I had last week. But again, We'll get to that in a few minutes.
You're under 500 now.
Yeah. Look, it's a big talking point. I understand why some kids opt out. I get it. But man, if this is not a black eye though, the Orange Bowl is it is a New Year's Six, but it's just historically one of the biggest bowls out there. And for it to be kind of put at the doormat this year of just kind of like 2 teams who kind of care less, and I get it. They both have fair cases for feeling that way. But for the fact of the matter is, for what the bowl is, it's just like, God, do they just not care? Like, and like I said, I get in certain cases, like I really do, but like even the kids going into the portal, like Rodemaker only said he was going into the portal like this week officially. Yeah. Like it's kind of crazy.
Haven't they been practicing?
Honest. Right, yeah.
They just quit out in the middle of practice?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like what was really going on behind the scenes, and that stuff we may not see, which I get, but like at the same token, it's like it's tough, especially for me. Like I said, I've been one of the guys who've been like, hey, these kids should be allowed to transfer and stuff. But there's also a limit to it as well. But it's just one of those things where the state of college football right now with this is Florida State's, I think, unfortunately, the head of it, where it's like, okay, like, what's going on here? It's just it's not good luck, really.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's just that game's on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the Orange Bowl is one of the big.
Orange Bowl Saturday.
It's one of the big bowls, and and that's the problem with a lot of these big schools playing in these bowl games that are not part of the playoff.
Right.
They just don't care. These are supposed to be the best teams that didn't make the playoffs, and the best bowls that aren't the championship bowls. And you got people on James Madison that seem to care more about the bowls than Florida State, which is kind of ridiculous. So it's not a good look for bowl mania, that's for sure.
And we don't mean a shot, obviously, especially us. Like we're the one podcast who I feel like we, maybe me more so than you, but I bang the drum for these smaller schools. We don't mean a shot at them by saying it that way, but it's just the fact of the matter. Like you see more guys, and JMU did have guys opt out too of their bowl game, right? Because they're transferring, but I think it was only like 2 kids opted out, like
instead of like 20.
Right, like you see that stuff everywhere, and to go back to that point too, like part of the transfer portal is like you can still play in the bowl game, like if you so choose, and if your coach still so chooses. As far as I know, Norvell has allowed them to play if they wanted to play.
It's also football is probably the number one team family atmosphere.
Right.
And you don't want to finish the job. You put all this hard work into the season, and you don't want to finish the season out.
Right.
Basically, they quit.
Yeah.
And they could say whatever they want when the transfer portal opted out for injury or whatever, then getting ready for the draft. You quit on the season. Basically, that's in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's what they do here. That's what they all did.
So, all right, before I get to actual picks, college football playoff, let's see, the Rose Bowl, which is up first in this somehow, is Alabama and Michigan. Give Nick Saban a month to prepare. You got Jim Harbaugh and a very pissed off organization going at each other. You have the Sugar Bowl between Texas and Washington, where one team feels like they for sure belong within it. The other team, they feel that way. Others may not. So it will be very interesting. Nobody that I'm aware of on any of those teams is opting out. It's full bear. They're all going for it in these games.
Yeah, it's a championship on the line.
Right, and it's, obviously now that we're 30 feet away or, 3,000 feet away from it, this might be one of the better Final Fours we got, but I don't know how I really feel about the actual Procon Fields will play out because obviously for me, I'm not going to say my picks because I get to them obviously when I do mine, but, I just feel like the two teams that we know should be there, that there was no dispute on them being in there, and I might be alone in this, I feel like they are just viably better than the other two teams that they're facing.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably will disagree.
And you have every right to.
I think these 3 games are going to be awesome games.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's going to be great championship. Last year of the Final Four, obviously we're going to get the Final Four again. It's just going to be a couple rounds before now, but the last year of this format, I think it's going to end it with a bang. Unfortunately, I think Alabama might be the threat to win it all. But here's what I think is going to. Are we making picks? Am I making a pick?
Yeah, you can make your pick. I'm withholding mine to get to where I have it. So.
I mean, I think the better game, the better product game we're going to get is the Washington-Texas game. And you know how I advocate for this all the time. I think these games should be on New Year's Eve every year, but I get it. We switch it every other year.
Yeah. They
switch to the Rose Bowl, and then I get it. I just love it when these games are on New Year's Eve better. But to make my picks, I think they're both going to be great games. Going to be close. I think Alabama will beat Michigan because the Big Ten is trash, and I will always say that. And unfortunately, I think Texas is going to squeak out a win over Washington. So I think both undefeated teams are going down. And I know we don't want to make our picks too early, but just to say my pick, I think Texas beats Alabama again, and Texas is back.
So on the record, you are saying Texas is in fact back.
We'll win the national title this year.
Wow. All right, so I have to rail through 21 bowl games to pick here quickly. So I'm going to do this as rapid fire as I can. The Military Bowl, which is going on right now, I have not looked. I have no idea what's going on in this game. Virginia Tech minus 11.5, though. Tulane gutted through portal, opt-outs, Willie Fritz.
What are you saying?
Military Bowl, Tech minus 11.5, Virginia Tech.
Last time I left, Tulane picked up a scoop and score, and it's 7-0 Tulane last time I checked. Not
good for me then. So that's where I start. Military Bowl with Virginia Tech minus 11.5. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, UNC and West Virginia. I'm taking West Virginia minus 6. Holiday Bowl, Louisville, USC. I'm taking Louisville minus 6.5. Again, a lot of opt-outs on the USC team. The Texas Bowl, Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. I'm going with the Pokes minus 3.5 against the Aggies. Fenway Bowl, SMU, Boston College, 9.5, laying that with SMU. Pinstripe Bowl, Rutgers and Miami, taking the Scarlet Knights minus 2.5. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, North Carolina State and Kansas State. I'm taking the Wolfpack plus 2. The Alamo Bowl, Arizona and Oklahoma. I'm taking Oklahoma plus 3. The Gator Bowl, Clemson and Kentucky. I'm taking Clemson minus 5. We get to the Sun Bowl here, Oregon State and your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Nick. I'm taking the Irish minus 6.5. I just think their opt-outs, despite big, are less than what's been going on at Oregon State. So I'm going to go with the Fighting Irish there. The Liberty Bowl, Memphis and Iowa State. I'm taking Memphis plus 10.5. The Cotton Bowl Classic, Missouri and Ohio State. I'm taking Missouri plus 3 over Ohio State. The Peach Bowl, Ole Miss and Penn State. I'm taking Ole Miss plus 4.5. The Music City Bowl, Auburn and Maryland. Auburn minus 6.5. The Orange Bowl, Georgia and Florida State, which we already talked about, doing Georgia minus 18.5 there. The Arizona Bowl, Toledo and Wyoming. Wyoming -3 is what I'm going with there. The ReliaQuest Bowl, Wisconsin and LSU, -10 with the Tigers. The Fiesta Bowl, Liberty and Oregon. I'm taking Oregon -16. The Citrus Bowl, Iowa and Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee -6.5. When we finally get to the Rose Bowl, Alabama and Michigan. I'm taking Michigan -1.5. And then the Sugar Bowl, Texas and Washington. I'm taking Washington +4.
All right. Now, before you make
There's that.
your championship pick, because I want to hear who you.
Sure.
Mayonnaise, disgusting. Only when it's on a burger.
Okay.
You weren't a lot of Big Ten teams you're not a fan of either. I've noticed, and
There's some opt-outs.
and you took the -18.5.
Yeah.
For Georgia.
Yeah.
Interesting, but Washington, Michigan is your championship.
Yep.
Who's winning it all, Ball?
I think the Pac-12 goes out on a high note.
Wow.
Give me the Huskies. But we'll obviously be here next week to predict that. So.
But you don't think Penix is a good quarterback in the pros?
I think he's the most pro-ready. I mean, he's who I would draft. So, anyway, here or there. Couple minutes here before we get out. Spoiler alert time. A quick review of the Iron Claw, which is what the movie we went and saw, Nick, on Christmas night. So 5 seconds here for everybody to, if they're watching live, to either dip away or if you're catching up any time to pause. Or
We'll see you next
skip
week.
ahead,
We'll
so.
see you next week.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the Iron Claw, about the Von Erich family in wrestling. Bit of a biopic-y type movie. I think it technically, I guess, is. Yeah, I'm not a big wrestling guy. I know you aren't either, Nick. But for me, I knew about the Von Erich family, just kind of like one of those sports families that, obviously, I don't put them maybe on the level necessarily of like the Earnhardts. But if you don't know about NASCAR, you know about the Earnhardt family, no matter what, type deal. Really great movie. I'm not incredibly big on like Zac Efron, but
You weren't a fan of High School Musical?
what great acting he had as Kevin Von Erich.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, really the only brother to, I don't know how to really phrase it outside of kind of survive the curse, if you will, of the Von Erich family. Really, I thought did a pretty good, accurate job of really portraying most of the stuff that happened. This is a bit of a big part of the movie here. I know they excluded one brother from the film because I believe, as even the director and producer said, like, if we put one more tragedy in this movie, it's just not going to be good. So.
And did you know his death was actually Carrie's death in the movie?
Yes, sorta. Carrie's death was a combo of the two.
Yeah.
I know Carrie's death was.
So the other brother.
The way it was done was the way Carrie died.
The other brother was Chris.
Correct. Yes.
He was the youngest.
Yes.
All died before the father died. And
Yeah.
The father died actually 4 years after Carrie died.
I've never wanted, and it was a great job. I forget the actor's name off the top of my head who portrayed Fritz, the patriarch, but my God, I've never wanted to fight somebody more in a movie than like him.
He did a good job.
Just a really bang up job.
That was a great movie. Very sad movie,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It got you in every emotion. It really did. There were moments that you laughed. There were moments that made you happy. It's sad, everything. Shout out to Mara Tierney, by the way, who, like, I don't know if you know her, but, like, really great actor as well, who
She was who?
the mother,
The mother.
Doris. Really great actor. I know her from, like, ER, Semi-Pro. She's in a ton of different stuff. She's not, like, a that guy actor, but just a really, really great actor. And the fact that she popped up in that movie, I was, like, very excited for. Lily James, I thought did a really great job as Pam, Kevin's wife.
I forget his actual name. Lip from Shameless.
Yeah, James Allen. God, so do I.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Lip from Shameless.
Yes.
He did a great job.
Carrie. Yeah.
Yeah. Zac Efron, probably his best movie he's ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely better than Dirty Grandpa.
Wow. Yeah.
As much as we love Robert De Niro, but no, but great acting. It was just great acting. Just overall great movie. When I left the theater, I gave it an 8.8 out of 10. I'd probably put it 9.2.
I put it at 9.5. I didn't think it missed in a ton
That's
of
two
spots.
movies in a row you've done 9.5.
Yeah, I didn't think it missed in a ton of spots. I mean, obviously, no movie in my mind can ever be outright like perfect, right? But the past couple, I went and saw Godzilla -1, which I think we didn't talk about like review style, but me and Matt went, so I know you didn't, obviously, or else you would have been there with us. But yeah, it's weird, coming out of the strike and everything, and I know. I'm not too sure about the next movie. I know the next movie I really want to see, and I know you and Matt are minimally intrigued by is Ferrari. I don't know how much that was affected by it, but with the writer's strike and everything, I know actually their Claw was allowed to still be made during the strike because the Guild and the production company A24, who has really come on the scene here recently the past couple of years, at least prominently speaking, they've been around for a while. I'm just, I'd say in the mainstream, but they've had a really good, I think, rapport with each other. I think A24 has done a really good job of allowing actors to kind of, if they have stuff come up right there, that it's kind of free motion, so they allowed them to still work on the movie through. Because production for the movie didn't start until pretty much November, October of 2022. I mean, this was done in about a year or so.
Wow.
Give or take. So just a really great job that worked through kind of the stuff at that time. What's been going on right now, obviously, and just really good stuff. I mean, there was certain stuff too. I think I wouldn't quite call it historical like conflicts, but just certain stuff like the ESPN deal. Kind of, just the background of what I knew. I was like, it's not entirely accurate. And look, it's Hollywood. Stuff's going to be twisted a little bit and stuff. So
That's
like
the
I
difference
said,
between based
right.
and inspired.
Right.
It was inspired by a true story.
Right. It just, to me, though, like I said, it was about as close to being a perfect movie as you can kind of get, so.
Yeah, and screen was cut off a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this ever happened, but we had the whole theater to ourselves.
That's the second movie back-to-back for me, so.
And the movie's been great.
Yeah, so. Hey, maybe we'll get lucky. Nobody's at Ferrari, and we go and
Get the recliners.
Get lucky.
Shout out Geneva Movieplex.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so that'll do it then for
Great
for
sports
Fresh Takes for
movie.
today. We'll get Nick. We'll get you back on your way here in a second. But who are you shouting out? The final shout out of 2023.
Yeah, final shout out. It's probably the same one every year. I'll shout out our friend Andrew. Birthday.
It's true. I forgot about
On
that.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Saturday. I probably shout him out every year at this time. But shout out Tiger Woods, Carson Wentz, LeBron James, Andrew Lucchesi all have the same birthday. How about that?
Yeah.
Shout out Andrew.
Not as great as me, who shares it with some guy named Derek Jeter and Jason Kendall, though.
Share with Pete Rose,
There you go.
greatest hitter of all time,
Mm-hmm.
behind McCutcheon. But
And Ichiro.
and Ichiro. But yeah, shout out Andrew.
So, all right, everybody. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. We will see everybody, Nick, in 2024.
Have a great year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Next year.
See there it is. So we'll talk with everybody next Wednesday. Until then, enjoy, be safe, have fun, everybody.